everything on there.
Yep.
And then I did.
Nice.
Like all
Yeah,
those,
you
so,
said
like,
B City.
I said B City, and he's like, it's tertiary. I was like, whatever.
Mine sounds better.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I would imagine you get really good attendance because people don't have anything to do.
Exactly. So I'm excited about it. I'm going to see the country, and I haven't before, so it'll be super fun.
Well, you guys sound great, so I'm gonna let's
The level's good?
yeah.
Welcome to Unmastered. I'm Emma.
And I'm Gohar.
We are uncut and on the record with your favorite bands. So Gohar,
Yes.
why don't you tell the people who we're with?
Today we're with Ships Have Sailed.
Hello, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So we're going to do a little icebreaker.
Yeah.
What I always love to do. Tell us what's your name, what do you play, if you are a crayon, what color would you be and why, and what is in your trunk right now?
That's a dangerous question. Mark, you go first. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to answer that.
My name is Art. I play drums. And, what's crayon?
If you were a crayon, what color would you be and why?
What color I would be?
Yeah, coming at you with the hard-hitting questions already.
Probably pick black or gray.
Wow.
Because those are two of my favorite colors. Black, gray, I mean, on the darker side. What's in my trunk? A practice pad and a pair of drumsticks. I also give drum lessons.
Oh, nice.
So that's the only thing in my trunk right now.
Very clean.
Impressive.
That is very
so
impressive.
clean.
Yeah, it's empty. It's just a pad and a pair of sticks.
Wow.
Do you hear it rolling around?
No, it's an actual Bigfoot bag.
Oh,
Like,
got you. That makes more sense.
Yeah,
Otherwise, every time you hit a stop sign.
It's just like,
It's like perfectly in like a Bigfoot bag, pair of sticks, and a pair of thicker marching band sticks.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
You were raised well.
Yeah.
All right, well, my name is Will, and I play lots of stuff, including guitar, bass, synths in the studio, but I would never be caught dead playing them live because I'm not really the best piano player anymore, and I sing.
mm-hmm.
Oh, the crayon question. I'm going to go...
It's a good one. It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say purple because I'm leaning into the brighter things in life. Although, asked me a week ago, and I probably would have said black or gray. But funny enough, I don't think black or gray are really colors.
Aren't they technically just like
They're
hues?
Shades.
Values, I think
Values.
they're called.
Whoa.
I took photography for like 3 years. I should know the answer to this, but
Someone told me purple isn't a real color either.
that's a
Because-
lie.
Yeah, that's a bold-faced lie.
because if you look on the color wheel, there's so there's colors, complementary colors. The complementary color for purple is like yellow, or maybe it's like blue and yellow, and like because purple is like a variant of blue, something like that. So it is a color, but I think he's right. Black and gray technically aren't colors; they're values.
Yeah, white too, actually.
Yes.
And then what's in my trunk? Now, if I said a dead body, would I get in trouble?
No, this is being uploaded at a later date, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you can just
you have
edit that
enough
part out.
time
to remove
to
the
do what
body
you gotta
from my
do.
trunk.
You're gonna do a lot of editing.
So
Yeah.
I have, well, in a way, I do have a dead body in my trunk, like an injured one. My amp just decided to not make noise the other night, and so I have
R.I.P. in peace.
Yeah, I have a broken amp in my trunk. And I want to say my pedal board is in there because I'm going to have to rewire it. And I think that's it, actually.
Well,
So, music gear.
Yeah, not
That's it.
I
much
think
in there.
that just tells the people that you guys really love your music.
Try
That's
to
all
keep it
that's
clean
in.
and simple.
All
Are
that's
you
in the
guys
trunk.
musicians maybe? It sounds like.
So wait, what does rewiring a pedal board entail?
Well, It's a fascinating process. It's
I'm actually really intrigued.
So we played a show the other night, and the power in the building was really not clean. It was like kind of an old building, and with dirty power.
Oh, at Madame Siam.
Yeah.
Yeah, power goes out for people performing
Oh, wait, does it
constantly.
really?
Yep.
I had no idea.
Wow.
So yeah, the last time we dealt with weird power in a building, it was at the Cavern Club in Liverpool, and we literally plugged in our mixer that runs all of our backing tracks, which we rely on. Power supply explodes on stage, and we thankfully, genius sound guy over there, like MacGyvered something together, and we were able to perform. But it was scary for a couple minutes. And then the other night at Madame Siam, I plugged in, and like the weirdest stuff started coming out of my, like, I've never heard these types of noises, like this type of noise come out of like my pedal board or my amp or like whatever. The sound guy was convinced that it was the pedal board, and so he was like, yeah, definitely get a grounded power supply and just make sure you're using all shielded cables. So I ordered a grounded power supply.
What
and
is a grounded power supply?
Basically, it's a power supply that has the 3-prong outlet in it, as opposed to a 2-prong.
Got it.
They're a little bit more heavy duty. They're quite a bit more expensive. And then I got like gold-plated cables for all of the different.
Oh, fancy.
I mean, again, they're supposed to be well shielded and whatever.
Okay.
And they charge you an arm and a leg for them. So, yeah, $500 later. On like nothing exciting either, like, you know, get in trouble for spending the budget and like not even have fun with it. Yeah. I don't know, but the next time we're in a building with dirty power, it's gonna hopefully sound very cool.
Also, when you're playing live shows, you really want to.
Yeah.
You have this thing like we double up on everything. We have a DI box, we have backup, we have XLRs, we have backup. You know, when you show up live, you don't know.
Oh yeah.
After our experience in Liverpool, we carry around an extra power supply.
Even Liverpool, like, we were prepared.
Liverpool isn't across the pond, Liverpool?
Yeah.
When did you guys go there?
2017? Yeah.
Wow.
It was a really amazing experience.
How did you guys end up playing gigs there?
It was
just the one, or was there multiple?
It was 2 nights that we played, one at the Cavern Club and one across the street at the Cavern Pub, and then...
So wait, the Cavern Club and the Cavern Pub?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean...
were they affiliated at all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
just checking.
You know, like how there's a Hugo's restaurant and right across there's a Hugo's Tacos right here?
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep, totally.
You should go there.
I did not know this. I've never heard
Hugo's
of this
Tacos? Really great.
So when I lived on this side of the hill, Hugo's Tacos used to be my jam. I haven't been back to this one recently, but there's one in Atwater, and I just have to say it is not as good as I remember this one being.
Uh-huh.
You know, there's like always a good Denny's and a bad Denny's.
Oh,
this
yeah.
Hugo's Tacos
You're right.
is
That's
the good
really
Denny's.
true.
Yeah, it is.
There's
You're right.
always that, like, good one. And, oh, man. Or, like, the good, like... It's so weird, especially with, like, commercial fast food, like, things like McDonald's and stuff like that. Like, you expect it all to be the same, but then, like, you go to one, and it's like, it's never the same.
I had McDonald's in Liverpool.
Well, foreign McDonald's is totally different.
Yeah.
Like, the meat is all sorts different, too.
Exactly.
And I feel like the quality of meat in Europe really differs from the quality of here.
As in, it's better?
I don't know.
I can't say across the board, but if we're talking about like chain restaurants like McDonald's, because that's what I had over there.
Yeah.
It was a lot better. Like it actually tasted good.
He looks like he's disagreeing.
I have a different opinion, but everybody has different.
But they didn't have McDonald's, so
this is true. I try to steer clear of like ultra.
Where did you late, but nothing's open. Like, and Liverpool, everything closes at 5 or 6 o'clock.
What?
Yeah. And we were up till like, was it 11 or 12? Because my good friend Jack was with me, and he flew out with us, and everything was closed except
McDonald's.
McDonald's was open. So
what about the pubs? Did those close early too? I would expect those to stay open.
No, it was open, but it was just like alcohol.
Yeah.
No
food.
They don't serve food. But
Yeah.
McDonald's was open. And it was a long line.
The long line.
I'm sure there would be because it's the only place.
Yeah.
Jeez. So you ended up in Liverpool. How did that?
Was it part of a tour or?
It was part of a festival, actually, called International Pop Overthrow. And we had gone up the West Coast with them the year before. And the promoter really liked us. And I saw that he was doing a Liverpool thing. And I was like, hey, we want to go.
Pick me.
So he very graciously invited us across the pond. And it was really awesome. The one downturn was that waking up the morning of our first show there, actually we woke up to the news that Chris Cornell had passed away.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a really kind of intense day because it was like, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up on grunge and I love Chris's voice, his writing. An incredibly talented individual and an inspiration to me, and it was just like crushing.
Yeah.
But then we had to like go play a show, and it was like a really special show too. Like we met some of the first people who ever found us before we ever got like blog coverage or anything like that were from the UK.
Oh wow.
And they all came out, and they like we knew that they were going to come out. They showed up and they had made us like a plaque, like first show in the UK, and they it was a really, really incredible night.
That's amazing.
So at the same time, it was like a really sad day, and then you have to make the most of every opportunity like that. So we just kind of like pulled ourselves up by our bootlaces, and we were like, well, we're going to go rock this show. And then it turned out to be just a really incredible night. We actually dedicated a song to Chris from the stage. Not a super sad one, like a hopeful one, because I hope that we can all kind of learn from these tragedies. Yeah. If there's anything you can take out of them. Yeah.
Always a silver lining.
Wow. Story.
Yeah.
That one.
Oh, that definitely is. That's just, it's kind of one of those things where it's just kind of like, it was like a heavy thing, but at the same time, like, again, like finding that like hope in it and going to how, like, you woke up, maybe the way in which your day woke up wasn't the way in which you had all this like love and support from all these other people. So
absolutely.
I think that's you're telling to life too.
It kind of like those types of experience really shape, I feel, our philosophy as a band and the way our songs are written. Always I try to find like a little bit of a bright edge, even in like kind of the darkest piece of music. I think it's super important. I think it's something that the world totally needs right now.
100%. I totally agree. I think if you can use your music to find, if you can find a way to take a sad topic or a sad song but somehow twist it and make it,
positive.
Have like a hopeful, like you said, like a silver lining or like a hopeful undertone with it. Like, I think that's always something really, really good to do. I think you guys have Bastille?
Yeah.
I think he does a really good job of that. He writes about a lot of like, just like, I mean, his whole album's called like Doomsdays and like stuff like this, but the way in which he writes is so like profound and has like twists and turns, and he does a really good job of that.
Yeah, he's really poetic.
Yeah.
I haven't dug into the new record actually. Thank you for reminding me. I need to check it out.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. But he's always been like that. Like he has one. Oh my gosh, what is it called? The Ballad of. Oh, I'm gonna mess it up. The Ballad of like Perry Smith or something like that. And it's like this like whole like song about I think it's like this guy who's on like death row like maybe like in the 90s. I don't know. It's like this very, very interesting thing. So I think if people who can find a way to write about like very interesting topics like that also have a certain spin on it.
That's a really traditionalist songwriting approach for a pop artist. Kind of like it now. So now I'm curious. I'm gonna have to go look that up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he's so great. I know I like side rail, but like he's so good. And he's just, I think just thinking about this just kind of made me think of him.
Well, that's a huge compliment, actually. I don't think it's a side rail at all. I think it's I mean, we're all music fans here, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about music. I'm
do
all
it.
for that.
Well, so I guess I know I wanted to talk about this later, but I think we're kind of on the topic now. With your song "Escape" that you guys released not too long ago, you had something with your fans and like experiences. Like, what was that? Like, I want to know more about that and what inspired that.
That was really surprising, actually, in the most pleasant and like amazing of ways. So "Escape" is a song that, like, some songs you set out to write them and some just write themselves. "Escape" wrote itself in a very short span of like maybe 5 minutes. And so my wife's mom has been battling cancer for quite some time, and she's stage 4, so it's, you know, it's maintainable at this point. But when that song happened, we had just had this experience where we had thought that she was completely like free and clear, like, and previously it was stage 3, and then she kind of went back into the hospital with a really acute complications. We found out it was stage 4. We had to fly across the country. We had to deal with this. It was the most, it was a really surreal experience because we were in this hospital and there were like 7 different doctors that would come in and round, and they would all say different things, and they weren't talking to each other, and they weren't figuring out what's wrong with her.
Oh, wow.
We ended up figuring out what the complication was and why they weren't seeing like the things that they were expecting to see, which is just
That's
like
mind-boggling a little bit baffling.
It really was, and it was like, you know, I'd never experienced anything like that before.
You hear about people experiencing like weird situations with medical and not receiving like treatment, or people beating around the bush, but it's like, I think when you actually like experience that, like I've never, but well, I kind of have, but like actually experiencing it is a whole new thing. It's like, why am I feeling so invalidated? I came here for help, kind of thing.
Yep. And it's, you know, it was really kind of a traumatic experience, and thankfully, like, everything kind of worked itself out, with some lingering complications like memory loss and that kind of stuff. But all's well that mostly ends well. And we basically had just experienced that for like 7 straight days, and we had just flown back and gotten off the plane, and it was like late, and we had no food in the house, and we went to a restaurant to just like we were starving. Yeah. So we went to our little neighborhood hang, and I was just kind of trying to like level set with her and be like, okay, well, now that that's handled, we need to talk about next steps, like whatever. It was, music was the last thing on my mind, and then this thing popped into my head, and like it wouldn't leave me alone, and like I actually tried to kind of like push it, because this conversation was important, you know, like it's family and potentially life or death, but it wouldn't leave me alone, and so I walked outside to voice note it, and the whole thing kind of like wrote itself in 5 minutes.
With you voice noting it?
Wow. But like all the different pieces were there too, like all, like the drum groove was like very insistent that was what it was. It was really weird because it like changes time signatures almost like every other measure or every measure. It's super weird song. But everything was kind of like there in my brain the way it was supposed to be, and it took like 5 minutes to voice note it all down. And then after that, it took about a year to actually put all the pieces together so that it sounded right. So it was already like a really crazy, drawn out emotional process for me and for us to create it. And releasing it in February this year felt like the right thing to do. It felt like the right song to release first of this new batch of material that we've been working on. Almost just like as a quick little catharsis to like get it out of my system and just put it out in the world. And I didn't expect it to get the reaction that it did. You know, like I expected our really diehard fans to love it, and I expected everybody else to be like, meh, it's slow, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
And instead, everybody was like, oh my god, like, this speaks to me because of this thing that I went through, and blah, blah, blah. Like, people started sending me emails and DMs.
Oh, wow.
And, like,
so many people relate.
It really, I mean, it was beautiful and, like, mind-boggling. I guess it's not mind-boggling. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, I feel like everybody has, in a way, like, had a hard couple years. Like, if you really look at what's been going on, like, people are struggling.
Yeah, they are.
And so I started getting these emails and these DMs, and I just, like, you know,
you kind of absorbed it and
kind of asked.
I've always kind of wondered, though, like, how is it to have people tell you all these personal things about themselves, like, in relation to, like, something you've written? Like, how is that from an artist and, like, human perspective as, like, you on receiving it? I've always wondered how that was for people.
It's amazing, and it's, like, terrifying, and it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
In this case, like, I guess, like, the volume of it, like, the amount of people who are sending personal stories about, like, why they connected with the song, like, prompted me to start asking them if I could share their stories. And so if you saw any of the content, like, it's usually, like, you know, a few paragraphs of text, and then I would shoot a video.
Yes.
So some of the videos were really, really hard to shoot. Like, some of these stories are, like, crazy. Not crazy in a bad way, but just like, oh my god, I can't believe another human being went through this and is still, like, okay to, like,
share.
Tell me. Yeah, and to have me tell, you know, however many people are caring to look at our feed. And so it's a little bit, like, emotional and
it's
difficult to, like, read that.
Sure.
And the small, like, clips, like, because it's hard to edit down to, like, 60 seconds. Like, 60 seconds is not a lot of talking, right? So whenever I would get one of these things and I would ask permission to, like, to post it, I would basically warn them that I would need to edit it. So, like, some of these emails were, like, a couple pages long, you know, and I would have to, like, go through and kind of, like, figure out how to share the actual experience in a much more condensed form. So it's almost like almost like an exercise in a writing class, but way more like way more emotional.
More real.
Because, like, because you're dealing with people's actual stories. So it's a lot of responsibility, but it's amazing. Like, it also validates that what we feel and what we express is real to other people. You know what I mean? And I think that's the most amazing compliment that you can ever get as an artist. So, definitely worth all the emo days.
Yeah.
I think it's also something, like, really good to share, because I think with, like, social media and everything, like, everyone's always so, like, uppity and just, like, throwing things, you know, there's always, like, putting out the good content, like, the good part of their lives, and social media gets a lot of, like, flack for that.
Share the good, keep the bad.
Yeah, so I kind of like that was something that you guys, like, embraced the bad, but almost in this, like, very, like, again, like, spinning it in a more, like, positive way when needed. Like, it's just one of those things where it's, like, gives people kind of hope and just lets people know, like, hey, like, other people are going through stuff, but we're all getting through it. That's what matters.
I think at the end of the day, like, human beings just need to know that we're not alone, whatever it is that we're experiencing. That's, like, of course, it would be great if life was always happy and always perfect, but it's, number one, it's never going to be. And also, I think that it just makes whatever you're going through feel just slightly more manageable, as long as you know that, like, it's not just you.
I think that's another thing, is I think as a society we're so, like, me focused sometimes that we feel like anything that's less than perfect, or, like, anything we go through just, like, feels, like, so, like, heavy. But then when you kind of look outward and like kind of look away from yourself, you see like, oh, other people are going through this. Like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. Like, then it becomes, again, like more manageable, but it also kind of takes you out of it almost for a second. Really kind of see and think a little more clearly. Because when you're in the midst of something, you can get really like caught up in it and get really emotional, of course, especially through emotional things. So it's always really good to step away from themselves.
Yeah. I like
Way to tie that in.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's so amazing that people are able to share those with you.
it was it was a gift, and honestly, like the whole thing was really, really well received. People really enjoyed, like, people were chiming in on the comments, and I honestly, because people do like, write stuff on social media, but so I was a little bit concerned that going gloomy and like sharing people's traumatic experiences might not be a good thing to do, or maybe like would get us some hate online. And I was really pleasantly surprised that most people were just very, very supportive and interested in that direction.
I think because it was also real. It was like, this is reality. This is life. This isn't some.
Exactly. 'Cause it was real.
Yeah, it wasn't something artificial and contrived. It was real, and like I think, like I feel like humans need connection. I think a lot of times, like, people go on social media as a way to kind of like feel as if they're connected when they're not really connected, and can make people feel bad about themselves and all of that. So I think what you guys did was almost a way to kind of actually bring some legitimate connection and something, slightly more tangible and realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like a tool like social media is you get out of it what you put into it, right?
Exactly.
So if you're there to be a genuine person and actually connect with other people in a tangible way, then that's what you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
As long as you are able to find people who are there to connect with you, right? So, yeah, I feel like social media probably, like the technology itself probably deserves some of the flack for like the fakeness, but then we have to take some personal responsibility for that.
100%. Of course. I think society, a lot of it is what we make of it. Like, we are society. So society views things a certain way. That's because
We view it
we've
that way.
somehow made the viewpoint a
That
certain way.
we made
controlled
it that normal.
We've controlled the conversation in a way, and it's up to us to change that conversation, change the viewpoint, because we are society, the masses. So.
Yep,
I think
absolutely.
That's very true. I would love to play Escape, since we've talked about it so much.
Yeah.
Is that something?
I think that's an amazing idea.
Let's totally do it. So, everyone, we've been talking about it. This is going to be Escape by Ships Have Sailed.
You just listened to Escape by Ships Have Sailed. I feel like I heard this on the radio. Did I?
Yeah, definitely. We were lucky enough. I also wasn't expecting that, by the way. Very slow song, kind of long.
It is kind of long.
And it doesn't...
What's the clock in at?
Around 4 minutes.
It's definitely 4+. I want to say it's either 4:05 or maybe even a little bit more.
Oh, wow. That is long for radio.
It's super long. So yeah, we were really, really lucky to catch the ear of Kat Corbett over at K-Rock Locals Only, and she gave it a spin, and people voted, and it wound up
4 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes on the nose.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, so we got a spin, and people started voting, and all
Let me get in here with the technicalities.
Still long for radio.
How's that? How's your experience with the K-Rock Locals Only?
I mean, it's great. Kat she's a music fan. She's a really nice person. I was fortunate enough to meet her a couple times, and we've had a really nice brief interactions. And she, she's generous to the local music scene. You know, what's not to love.
I
Like
love
she's
K-Rock locals only. I think it's so cool. Like, because I always get really excited when there's bands and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love these guys. And then you see them, like, especially because they just did something recently where you could, like, vote on, like, the vinyl.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a cool idea. And I love how much they support, like, the local music scene because, I mean, I always say, like, oh, I haven't listened to radio in so long just because it's all mainstream. It's all the stuff that I just don't listen to because a lot of the artists I listen to are people I find through word of mouth and are a little more local. So I love that they bring attention to that.
Recently, they've been putting their name on a few shows. I know that there was a residency with Forever X2, and it was presented by K-Rock Locals Only.
Yeah, they're presenting a lot of Monday night residencies at the Satellite.
Yeah.
They are, they've always presented shows.
Yeah.
But
maybe I've just recently been seeing them.
They're presenting a lot more this year.
That's probably
and I think that the vinyl compilation and Locals Only Fest was a big step for them. I just feel like...
You guys played at Locals Only Fest?
We did not.
No?
We were in the...
You were in the running for it.
We were in the running for it. We were we got...
Let's Just Dance, right? Or was it with the stage?
With Let's Just Dance. Yep. And, we were in the running for it. We made the top 20. We did not quite make the top 10, unfortunately.
Okay, top 20 is still something to
top
be
20 is
pretty stoked about.
Top 20 is amazing.
Yeah.
Of an entire year's worth of bands, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I think that what's happening is a little bit of a snowball effect because what they're doing over there. And I want to give credit where credit's due because this whole thing is Kat's baby. Like she conceived of it and whatever, but it's growing. And K-Rock also is like they've given it a home and they've given it a platform, and she has like a whole team of people. So everybody who's working on the Locals Only side is starting to, like, it's kind of like a snowball effect where it's picking up steam because they're doing such important things for this local scene.
Yeah.
And so as much as they're supporting the scene is supporting them, which is why you're seeing them promote more shows.
Yeah.
And, the Locals Only Fest was really well. I mean, I went.
It was at the Terragram,
It was
right?
at Terragram.
Great
Venue, great artists. Like, so I went to check it out and, like, to show my support because they gave us a lot of support last year,
I went to a show, like, a few weeks before their little Locals Only Fest at the Terragram. It was Robert DeLong. I saw Robert DeLong at the Terragram.
How was that?
I freaking love Robert DeLong.
Yeah, he's
insane.
He's got some pretty cool songs.
Just watching him live is, like, it's such an experience because he's out there, like, and I don't know how he does it. Maybe we're all being bamboozled, but he, like, will use, like, a Wii console and, like, these, like, lasers as, like, actual instruments. And I don't know how he does it, but he's been doing it for years because I saw him do it at House of Blues when I was, like, 14.
Fascinating.
And
I'm gonna have to catch a show.
Yeah, he's got a joystick. He's used pieces of paper as instruments. Like, it's just so wild what he does. And then when I saw him play years ago, he had, like, a camera, like, up front, like, fisheye around him.
Oh, wow.
And it would project, so it was really cool. And then it would project on the crowd, so you would be up there. So he did something similar to that when he played at the Terragram. But he's just, like, a different breed of live music, I guess. Like, it's just so weird and eclectic and funky, but I love it.
Yeah, I feel like I would really like that show. I'm gonna have to check it out.
I think if the crowd's into it, like, I feel like the crowd here wasn't as into it as, like, the Anaheim crowd when I went a couple years ago, but I feel like if you got a good crowd, then you're just gonna have so much fun. Like, I went into that show wearing tennis shoes, like my ugly running shoes, because I was like, I know I'm gonna dance tonight, so we want to be comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's the mindset I went in with. But, yeah, whenever he comes back, you should totally check it out. It's so good.
Awesome. I definitely will.
Yeah. I went to a show, and I think it was a K-Rock presented show, and they were out there in the front with their, like, booth and all just promoting the heck out of the Locals Only Fest, like, giving away tickets, like, letting people know they could still, like, vote and, like, all of this stuff. So they're just really, like, hands-on with it and really like trying to get it out to the people of LA. I thought that was so cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, there are so many people who work really, really hard under the Locals Only umbrella to like make all that stuff happen. So I don't know. If you see them presenting a show, go support.
Yeah, because you're not just supporting, because you're supporting local music, but you're also supporting the people who help support local music.
Yeah.
Like,
I like the way you describe that.
People who have a little bit more of a voice than you might, and it's just like, this is your way of contributing to that voice.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's so cool. And you guys have had the opportunity to be featured on it twice.
Yeah,
Super awesome.
Really, really lucky and amazing. So, yeah, we really, really appreciate all the love.
So, I mean, you guys had to start somewhere. You went from somewhere to get there. So, how did you guys start Ships Have Sailed? What is the origin story?
Yeah, so it's a long story, so I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible.
We love long stories.
All right, well, I'll be as long-winded as possible. So this project started as just like a group of songs that were not a fit for my current project at the time, which was a very specific genre or cross genre. It's like kind of a rock hip hop thing.
Interesting.
Only
Rock hop?
more like Foster the People meets Kanye West as opposed to like, rock rap like Kid Rock or
Oh, okay.
And
that's cool.
So I had this group of songs that was slowly kind of collecting that I felt a connection to. So I didn't want to like pitch them for other artists. I wanted to do them myself, and they were not a fit for that project. And so I just kind of started doing some demo production, got a couple demos ready, and played them for a couple friends. One of whom is our good friend Dan, who was our original bass player. And when I played it for him, his response was, "Oh, cool, these are great. What are you going to call it?" So I was like, all right, well, so now I should probably find a name. And kind of along at that same time, the other project that I was in was kind of like, I guess, getting stagnant, and things weren't really being managed quite right, and not everybody was seeing eye to eye, so it became clear that it was kind of like on the downswing.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously, like, life transitions make me ponder existence and whatever, and I was
existentialism at its finest.
Yeah, so I started leaning into this and really like digging into production, realizing I wasn't as good of a producer as I thought I was, so bringing in
I love that.
bringing in co-producers to help me to get the sounds that I really wanted on some of those tracks on our original EP. And I was just kind of thinking about like how weird it is. Like, as much as I was kind of sad, like, I invested a lot of time in that other project, and we, like, at the time we were signed, we had like a good label under like a superstar producer, and it was like a really good opportunity where you're just like, it's like you're grabbing at it and it just like you can't like actually get it. So it kind of felt like a missed opportunity. But then like this started feeling right, and I was like, well, maybe it's not a missed opportunity. Maybe it just like pushed me to lean into this.
My mom keeps saying like, what is meant for you will not.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty true.
Shout out to Jane.
Shout out to Mama Jane.
I like that one. So I was basically just like, it's really weird. Like, you think you're on the right path, and then you like, there's like an unexpected turn, and you think you're on the wrong path, but then it turns out you're on the right path all the time. Maybe there's no such thing as a missed opportunity. And I was like, thinking about it, and like all the turn of phrases around missed opportunities, one of which is that ship has sailed. And I was like, oh, that's super negative.
Oh my god.
They should just turn it around and say ships have sailed. Like, because it's not a missed like, everything is an opportunity, even if it's an unexpected one. So I was just like,
opportunities come and opportunities never get missed because they keep coming to you. It's you have to go and get them.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I don't know how many wines I was deep at this time, but I kind of like was just like being dumb and like, oh, it should be ships have sailed. That ship has sailed is so negative.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute.
Hold on.
Is that one taken?
Wait.
And so I did a Google search and I did a domain search, and nobody had used this amazing band name ever.
Go.
So that's the story of how we got our name. And then I kind of realized that I was going to have to put a band together. And so asked Dan to play bass. We had a session drummer who played with us for a couple of years, and then he started getting busy with another artist that was touring a lot, and we started getting some pretty interesting opportunities, one of which was to play Canadian Music Week in Toronto.
Wow, look at you. Again with the international.
Well, that was a little bit of an interesting one. We'll get to that.
Okay.
It was a great time, don't get me wrong, but I digress. We'll get there.
There's a but.
Sounds like a lot of gossip, and I'm here for it.
So anyway, Mike couldn't make that gig, and so Dan and I were like, all right, well, we should do it. Where are we going to find a drummer? Dan was like, well, there's this guy I did some session work with. He's like one of the best drummers I've ever played with in LA. And I was like, do tell.
Stop holding out on me, man.
So Dan connected Art and I.
I can imagine.
Flipped him a bright, shiny nickel. So what, did he connect us over text? So
he texted me late night asking if...
Isn't that how...
late night texts?
Yeah.
All the late night texts always lead to something great.
11:30 at night, I look at it.
He was like, hey, baby, you up?
We nice.
Spam. But yeah, it was late night. He texted, and I'm reading the text, and it says, hey, are you interested in flying to Toronto? He gave me the date, I think, in May. Sometime in May.
I feel like it was in May.
Yeah. 2015. And he said, yeah, I'm currently playing with a band called Ships of Sail, and our drummer's not able to make it. And I look at my calendar, and at the time, Dan and I were doing a lot of session weeks. And I'm free in May, so what's going on? So I replied back saying, yeah, I'm interested. He goes, okay, a guy by the name of Will Carpenter will call you tomorrow. I said, okay.
That's so shady.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a phone conversation, right?
Yep.
And sent you some music. And we rehearsed once, we rehearsed twice. And then we hopped on a Spirit Air red-eye flight
Spirit Air.
to Cleveland. Spirit Air plus red-eye equals no bueno.
Disaster.
And now they will never sponsor us.
Do they really have the money to do that, though? Let's be real.
Single tier. Well, yeah, they charge me like, $200 for my carry-on. So,
yeah,
I mean,
ridiculous.
they have to have money.
Isn't it like you get like a really cheap ticket, but then like
Yeah.
But then everything
costs money, like
Everything.
snacks, water, bags,
Breathing.
breathing. Yeah. You want the emergency air thing? Yes,
a seat that doesn't have like glass shards sticking out of it.
Yeah,
awesome. Anyway, so we land in Cleveland, and we, after a really uncomfortable red-eye flight where none of us got any sleep, and Art, you got perfume
Well, we were
sprayed on
trying
you?
to sleep, but in front of me. Well, first of all, the two ladies next to me, one of them was scared of flying, so every time something would happen, like she would just like do something,
Oh, God.
like, get your attention. But the lady in front, she decides to put perfume on, and she sprayed it and just went straight up my face. And I turned to Will. I think you were in the aisle, like next to me, and I was like, I can't see. Oh no.
It's a rookie move to spray perfume on a floating tube 20,000 feet in the air.
With pressurized, limited, whatever the air situation
So we're
is.
like, we're up.
So anyway, we land at like 7 in the morning or something.
Jeez.
Pick up a rental van, drive all the way to Toronto.
How far was that?
I want to say it was like 5 hours.
5 hours.
Oh my gosh! After a red-eye flight.
Yep.
Jeez.
We did get held up at the border. But Toronto is an amazing city if you guys have ever been.
I have not. I have yet to go to Canada.
Okay.
I haven't renewed my passport in probably 10 years now.
You got to do that.
Dude, you gotta have a passport.
The world is an amazing place. And Toronto is an amazing city. We had a great time there. We had a great time at the conference. Our showcase was interesting because it was at Lee's Palace, which is probably the furthest venue from like the main strip. So it's a little hard to like get people out there anyway. And it was at exactly the same time as like Death Cab for Cutie was playing.
God.
And the thing is that like at Canadian Music Week, if you have a wristband, everything is free from there on out. So like free Death Cab for Cutie thing or new band you've never heard of, you know, we weren't really expecting a packed room, but we still, you know, we had a healthy little crowd, very responsive. Even started a dance party during summertime, so we can't really complain.
Exactly.
And honestly, it was an amazing experience. Spirit air aside, and then on the way back, Dan actually is from Ohio. He's from a little town called Spencer, Ohio, and his parents own a massive farm. So we stopped by their farm for a couple of days. We went mudding on four-wheelers, or rather, we were supposed to just be riding ATVs, and Dan's little brother, like, took us through the mud patches.
Oh my god.
Unannounced. Art, you lost your phone?
Yeah, my phone just
oh god.
went straight in the mud.
We drank canned beer in a field with bonfires and, like, ate greasy food. We went to the one
stereotypical.
We went to the one bar in town. There's one bar in town. The town is like one crossroads with a traffic light, right? We went to the one bar in town and we shut it down.
Oh my god!
It was Dan
started singing Frozen.
Yeah, Dan and one of his neighbors started singing Frozen at the top of their lungs, and the neighbor, really really big guy, and like kind of like. Seemed kind of conservative, like knew all the moves, and he was just drunk enough to bust them out. And it was pretty epic. It was a pretty epic trip.
Really fun.
I feel like that's exactly what you would expect from like a movie about a small town.
Yeah,
just like we're mudding, we're bonfire.
We rode back in the truck.
Oh my gosh, just the stereotypes.
We're just laying there looking in the sky while they're just driving.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
Yeah, how many days did this last?
No, it was literally like
one night.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
It was like an afternoon, a night, and a morning.
We did back.
Yep.
On Spirit.
Yeah. So, and that was
They're really not good.
Single tier.
Their reputation precedes them. It's fine.
Yeah.
Will Carpenter ships for sale. Tickets sell for night.
Well, good thing I won't be a shopper. Anyway, so that was Art's first experience with us, and
You've been hooked ever since.
Well, it all just was really. It was all really easygoing and fun and professional and like not so professional that you're like not getting to know each other. We were all like staying in the same freaking hotel room. Like nobody was getting under each other's skin. Well, maybe Dan was getting under people's skin, but that's just Dan.
What happened to Dan?
So that's another long story, but basically the short version is, you know, we did this for a few years and we were starting to tour a little bit more, and he got a really big promotion at his job.
Good for him.
And I just kind of noticed that like he was really stressed out when we'd be out on the road. And so I kind of put a pin in that, and after one of our tours I just took him out for a beer and I was like, hey man, like, is everything good? Like, I know you have new responsibilities at work, and you know, I just want to make sure that this is all still fun. And he was like, you know, I'm really appreciate you asking, and blah blah blah. And you know, ultimately the conversation wound up with him leveling with me and being like, look, I have to give this up and focus on work. But it was a very friendly conversation. And whenever, so Dan is actually a really, really talented orchestrator. And so whenever we need orchestral stuff, either for our stuff or I also write and produce for other artists as well, Dan is always my first call.
Oh, amazing.
And we're still very good friends. He and his wife just had their first baby this year.
Yay! Congrats to Dan.
She's adorable and she is like the best baby. She
is like
of all the babies,
is like really cute and doesn't cry.
So now all my other friends who have babies are going to be like, why isn't our baby?
Why isn't our baby?
But no,
are they really going to listen to this podcast though?
Maybe. You never know. But seriously, she is a happy baby. If she's fussing at all, usually it's pretty subdued, and it's also because of something. Like she's either hungry or she pooped.
That's it. Yeah. Two things that could cause lots of emotion.
No mysteries, and she's super chill.
Oh.
So I would say she's a pretty good baby.
That makes the beginning stage a little bit easier.
So, absolutely. So that's a lot of history.
Yeah. That is a lot of history, but we like the history because the history lets us know how we got to here.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome. And I know you guys have done a lot of cool stuff since you guys, because you've been around, you've been Ships Have Sailed since 2013, right?
Yep.
So it's been 6 years, so you've got a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge underneath your belt, so you have a lot of history as well. So.
I hope we've retained some knowledge. That would be good.
We try.
Hopefully things stay in the room. Yeah.
Take notes. One thing I do love that you guys do is you've got a nice website. You know how many bands don't have nice websites?
So yes. Thank you for noticing. That's really awesome.
I'm gonna say one of my favorite things is the lyrics and more section, because I just love especially with smaller bands or bands that aren't as mainstream or whatever you want to call it, can't find their lyrics anywhere, and I'm just
is really
what are they saying? I need to know. I want to know.
Do they intentionally not put lyrics up, or do they not know how?
You guys have your lyrics up for some of your songs, and then
the interesting thing is, so thank you for that, by the way, because I have been remembering lately that I am neglecting that section.
A little bit,
there's
okay.
There's nothing up there.
It's okay. It's okay. There's
at least
room
there's
for,
some
at
content.
least there's something, because and I love that it would say a little about the song, which I love. It just felt really personal.
Do you put that on Genius?
So I have recently discovered Genius, and I went.
Recently?
Yeah, this year.
Oh,
I've been using it since I was
because Genius is basically that lyric page if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's A to Z lyrics as well. When you can't find it on Genius, you go there.
Yeah.
So I went nuts with Genius and put all of our stuff up there.
Amazing.
So all of our stuff is now up on Genius.
And it's annotated?
I'm not sharing the more on Genius.
Yeah.
That we can invite you guys to our website.
Well, you could probably put a section in there that says if you want to learn more about this section of the song, you can visit our website.
I don't know if they allow.
They let that. I think it's just
really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's one of those things like a Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I mean, not as strict as a Wikipedia. Wikipedia is pretty strict, but where they really
They invite
they don't
fans to write things also.
Well, they don't encourage you to even have verse, chorus, blah, blah. They really are specific about how they want the lyrics. They want them just the lyrics and nothing but the lyrics. So there's not.
Do you have to upload? How does it work? Do you upload them, or can fans upload them?
Fans can do it. In fact,
I always wondered how they got there.
When I first discovered Genius, a couple of our songs were already there.
Oh, nice.
And I just had to create profiles, claim the songs, claim the profiles, and then working on them.
Wow. I always wondered, did it just materialize? How did it get there?
But I am going to start paying more attention to the lyrics more, because I do think it is a nice thing to do, to give people a little bit of background around a song and to have lyrics, and it's it's not a huge amount of effort. I know where the songs came from, I can articulate it, and the lyrics are I mean,
They're already on a doc somewhere, so
Yeah.
you can just
Yeah.
copy and paste it.
exactly.
Yeah, I loved that because I thought it was very like personable and very like it makes you feel like closer to the people that you're listening. It makes it feel more like relatable.
Well,
Just like
thank you so
cool.
much. Thank you for noticing that.
Oh my
And
god,
thanks for reminding me. Because I really need to show that section a little love.
that's what we're here for. Reminders constantly.
Yeah, people use our podcast as one big voice note.
Nice.
That's what we made that joke in the past. We're
Uh-huh.
like, this is just a giant voice memo for artists sometimes. Like,
So much is said here.
so much has been
Make
said.
a good website.
Siri, take note. Alexa. So you guys have recently released a new song recently.
Yep, last week actually.
Stay, correct?
Yep.
Can we get I would love to get the backstory on that one and then give it a listen.
The 311411 and 911 about it.
Well, the good news is that there's no 911 about that song yet. But
Yet.
that could always
You
change.
never know.
So I met my wife in a bar randomly in New York City.
Wow, I love that.
I lived here at the time, and she lived there, and I was over there for a work project. And I'm going to skip most of that story, but Stay kind of came to me in the midst of all of this like crap that was being thrown at us last year. Like, and this year, this May was our 5th anniversary. So we've been married for a little while. We've been together for like 10 years. Thank you. It doesn't feel like 5 years. Like it feels
Feel longer or shorter?
No, shorter. Like I kind of don't know where the time has gone.
Yeah.
But like in contrast to Escape, which was kind of like all of this kind of emotional turmoil manifesting itself as that in the song.
Yeah.
This one was kind of like, it was just a moment where I looked over and I was just like, you know what? I know that we're going to come out the other side of this. I know that we're going to be okay. And I like would not trade even this uncomfortable experience with this amazing person with a perfect experience with anybody else. And it just kind of like turned into this bubbly retro kind of like slightly sappy, of course, but like just kind of a love story, you know? And it seemed like in the same way that Escape felt right to be the first one to come out, this felt like a palate cleanser right after that. And it also kind of sequentially, that's how they happened.
Yep.
And I always love when life does that. So the very first line in the song is actually how we met. She was like the most miserable, like, so I was over there on a work project, and I was out with my colleague, my good friend Josh, and his girlfriend at the time, and we had this corporate apartment, which I'm putting in air quotes because it turned out to be this like tiny little 700 square foot but 2-bedroom dungeon under like in a basement under the Manhattan Bridge in Chinatown.
Oh,
They
what?
had said
Wait, what?
they had said Lower East Side, so I guess it's technically correct. But
Literally
it's like,
lower.
yeah, and like on the tip, like almost in the river.
Yeah.
Right? So, anyway, it was our first night. It was our first Friday in New York, and we just finished dinner. It was a little bit early, and we were like, you know, it's early. It's Friday in New York. Like, it's starting to be summertime. It was like June. And we should go grab a drink. Like, it's early. So we wander into this bar. The bar was called Mason Dixon in the Lower East Side, had a mechanical bull in the corner.
Oh, wow.
It no longer is there. But it was like the weirdest bar to just wander into. Like, we literally, like, we just
went to the first bar.
Boom.
Exactly. It's like a New York thing to do.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and she was like the most miserable looking person in the place. And I was just getting out of a relationship, so I really wasn't looking for anything at the time. And I just, you know, we got our drinks. She was like, I'll paint you a picture. She had like a vodka soda, something really flavorless looking, sitting on the bar with the straw hanging out, her phone face up on the bar, face down with the straw, scrolling through, like
my
So
God.
I went over like after I got a drink and I was just like, hey, it's a Friday night. It's New York City. It's getting warm outside. There's got to be something to smile about. And I swear to God, it's the worst line ever. But it wasn't a line. Like
Yeah,
I
it
just was like,
come on.
I was just like trying to get like a little something out of her. Like, and she glared at me and then we started talking and the rest is history. She really didn't like me at first. And it's funny because
I think you went up to a person who was not smiling and basically told her to smile.
I mean, it's not.
Smile more. It's like really.
but it wasn't like that. It was
No, I
more
know.
just like, hey, can we find a silver lining
Yeah.
here? Like, it's warm. It's a Friday night. We're like out. It's New York City. It's fun. Like, it's a fun place. Like, what's going on, right? Definitely didn't mean it in any weird way, although in retrospect, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I definitely did go up to the girl who wasn't smiling and be like, hey, smile.
It's okay. My parents met because my dad cat called my mom out of it, and my mom cat called him back. So.
Wow, what a power move.
That is a power move.
Something like that, yeah.
I like that. So anyway, like 5-year anniversary this year, and I really wanted to release this song on our anniversary, and for various reasons, I couldn't do that. A lot goes into lining up a release and like planning and like all this stuff.
So much.
It's been a busy year. So the soonest I was able to schedule the release for was June 12th, and which was last Wednesday. And so it's release day. Release day is super busy because there's all sorts of stuff to do. So I'm like working through my release day checklist. Like, yes, I make checklists.
Thanks. They're the best.
Rightfully so.
And I'm like overwhelmed and like just like, oh my God, why do I even do this? Like, like you always have that moment on like really, really busy days.
Yeah.
And a memory pops up on Facebook. June 12th was the day that we met in the bar.
Oh my God!
I swear to God, I did not know
That's
this.
so cute.
I swear to God, I did not remember.
What was the memory? Was it a status?
Goosebumps.
Was it a photo?
It was a status that I had posted, like, I want to say, like, either the year we got married or like the year before or something about our date-iversary.
Oh my gosh.
Which it wasn't really a date, we just like bumped into each other. But it's weird how like sometimes things just kind of line up perfectly.
Yeah.
I honestly, of 365 days in a year, I picked that one randomly. It's uncanny.
That's
and
universe at work right there.
And now I gotta go buy a lottery ticket.
Right now, after this, he's gone. We know where he'll be.
Yeah.
I love that though. That's so like, oh, it's so cute. I don't know, it's so cute. It's like hopeful. It's like this cute little hopeful thing.
Should we listen to the song?
I definitely can. We're gonna
absolutely.
We're gonna go ahead and give that one a listen then.
Yeah.
Weary eyes and a sad smile, saving her soul for the next time. Behind the scars, there's still a light. She just needs the spark that
just listened to Stay by Ships Have Sailed. I had to remember that for a minute.
And then the 3 minutes that we've been gone.
Yeah.
Short to remember those. It's fine.
Thanks. Just a little bit tired today.
Just a little bit.
I think I've been yawning the entire time.
Yeah, the struggle is real. I feel you. It's been a really, really busy year.
I feel like it's been a long week. Like this week necessarily has felt really long for me.
Oh yeah, it's Friday, right?
Yeah, it's hump day, and I still got like 3 more days left of the week. Like I can't do this.
Oh my gosh.
This is ridiculous.
I went out yesterday and the guy checking my ID because I look so young, right? The guy
Now
checked.
he's yawning.
Sorry, I started
all you
something.
had to do was mention it, and now it's
It's literally just-
He said happy birthday to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, when was that? And it was freaking the day before, and I don't even remember when my birthday happened. Oh, thanks. I didn't bring that up for you to say happy birthday.
She's like, I want people to tell me. Just keep
I
going.
didn't, but like it feels like such a long week because I don't even remember my birthday even happening.
Yeah, I feel like everybody is feeling that. I've been feeling that. Like Monday this week, I was like, oh, it feels like it should be Thursday already. It's just been
No,
Already.
seriously,
drag.
yesterday I was like,
Yeah.
you're telling me it's not Thursday? Like, I don't understand this.
What have I been doing this whole
Time
time?
is so weird. Do you guys ever just like, how is it that like sometimes like your week is like blink of an eye done, and other times you're like, oh my gosh, there's this whole meme on Twitter about how January just like lasts forever, and then next thing you know it's July.
Yep.
Like, how does that happen?
You know, it's worse in places where it's super freaking cold in January, February, and March. Like those 3 months, I actually think March is the worst.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up in Vermont, and it is like March is the worst month. Like March and February, usually you'll get at least like 2 weeks where it's like 40 below zero.
Oh my!
And like,
What? No, that's not possible.
yeah. Yep, absolutely.
I would
possible.
never survive. I freeze when it's like 60.
When we were up in Vermont.
Yeah, in Burlington.
Remember, yeah.
That was a cold night
I remember
actually.
walking, like you could hear like the ice just
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
gosh.
cold up there.
Yeah,
That's
it gets super
insane.
cold.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Pretty
quite
beautiful,
40
though.
below.
No.
It is beautiful.
But it
Also,
was cold.
also boring to grow up.
Oh, I bet.
I'm sure you had an imagination.
Yeah, and drugs and music.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Anywho, yeah. So I do like I feel like the January, February, March months are like that. That is a real
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah.
where they're just endless. And then summer months, it's just like,
Blink of an eye.
yep, absolutely.
And then it's Thanksgiving.
Like, it
and
could've
then it's
left-
4th of July again. Like, like, how does that happen?
No, and then it's January.
Then
for
it's
a year.
January for a year. Then it's 4th of July again.
No, but
Yeah.
seriously, January, at least here, every year it comes around, I'm like, why is this January lasting
No.
5 months?
Yeah.
I always wonder what it's like for people in like places like where during the winter it's like dark for a large portion of the day, or like summer it's like really bright. Like, how do you not lose track of what day it is? Especially like places where it's like 9:30 and the sun's still out. Like,
Yeah, they do
how
lose
do you
track
not?
of what day it is. It's like a real thing. Up north, like Alaska and
Yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah.
people get like crippling depression when the sun is like gone for months. You know what I mean?
Insane.
It's crazy. That does really mess with your head.
So that circadian rhythm or whatever.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
I barely
Also
passed
talking-
school.
No,
back to ships have sailed.
I think that is a thing though. Just so
Yeah.
you're not second guessing yourself.
So, what is in the future for you guys the next coming months, the next year? What can we see more of from you guys?
There will be more music.
Our favorite thing.
We are working on a lot of new stuff right now. It's hard to say what is creating itself. I kind of like to.
Interesting.
I like to let the songs kind of like tell me what they need to be. So if it's going to be a couple EPs or an album or like whatever, we'll
Mhm.
figure that out as the body of work collects. But definitely excited about what we're writing and what we're doing in the studio. And playing some shows. Let's see. We have one coming up for We Found New Music on July 16th, Tuesday, and it is free. So
We love free shows.
yeah, all you have to do is RSVP. You can get that info on our Facebook.
Yeah, where can the people find you on the Webernets?
Oh yeah, shipsofsailed.com and at Ships of Sailed on all of the Webernets.
Amazing.
I
Perfect.
like to say
Every single-
interwebs, but
I'll do interwebs or I'll do Webernets.
yeah,
I think this
Webernets.
is
I like that.
I think this is like the first time I've
Webernets.
used Webernets in like 6 months.
Spoken it, or do you write it in text?
No, I'll write interweb in text, but not Webernet. That just I wouldn't even know how to spell that
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if I spelled it, it would look like Webernet.
Yeah, yeah. Or somebody would like think it was like a net for your Weber grill for some reason.
Something
You know what I
like
mean?
that. So usually I type interwebs, Webernets
Yeah,
occasionally.
that's
Who
funny.
knows?
And of course, you can find us on Spotify and like Apple Music and iTunes. We love people who
YouTube?
still love iTunes, YouTube as well. And yeah,
Amazing. Well, we're super excited to see what this year has in store for you guys. and
Yeah.
all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us.
of course,
and-
it's been super fun.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
Yeah,
I know
thanks for having
earlier
us.
you mentioned your crayon, how last week you would have been a black crayon. Purple crayon, because it was lighter. So I hope all of your days are purple from here on out.
Awesome, yeah.
I
love
love that. Way to incorporate the icebreaker
We
question.
love a full circle. Thank you guys so much. So I guess this has been Unmastered, and we'll chat with you next week.